Welcome back to the workshop, and this last month seems to have lasted forever. Been taking a break because we've had a family holiday and then we've got jobs to do around the house as well, but should be back up and running now. The only problem, it's lovely to go away, but it's also lovely to come back. And it also means I've got a lot of catching up to do, because where am I on this project? What is the next stage? I've totally gone and forgotten what I've got to do. So my first job is to work out what I'm doing on the project, and then hopefully I can get on and do it. So let me get this lot of stock separated so I know which bits are which, and then I can take that next step. Right, I've got all of the work pieces separated. The panels and the shelves, they're outside. I don't need them at the moment. So that little pile is the long cupboard for the top shelf with the two long rails and the two side rails. That's the same setup for the short cupboard, because those have got the groove in for the panels and the rabbets for the shelf. Okay, and those are the middle, rear and front for the middle of the one shelf. That's that. And that's the same for that. So those are fine. Those don't need any more work as far as I'm aware. Okay, so that's those. I've got the 4 corner posts for both cupboards, and those have had the side posts have had the slots cut for the panelling. Okay, I've got there's 8 of these. Those are the styles for the doors on both cupboards. I've got the front rails for the long cupboard. Again, as far as I'm aware, those don't need any more work, and that's the accompanying short cupboard. I've got 4 side rails. Now this will be for the bottom, and again they just have the slots for the panelling, and these are the rails for the doors. That's the wide cupboard, that's the narrow cupboard, and as far as I'm aware those don't need anything doing either. Right, now then, what I would what I'm thinking now is to have or get to the point where I can start gluing pieces together. Now that I think is going to be my next task, in that yes, I can start gluing things together, but I want to make doubly certain that the tenons fit the mortises, because in past projects I've realised that the mortises were either too narrow or they were too short, and occasionally I've discovered that they haven't been deep enough either. So I think that's the first thing to do, is work out what pieces are going where and then test those individual joints. That way I can guarantee that when I do start gluing, everything will fit, and it will fit squarely. Right, I thought I'd start with the 4 corner posts, and that's cupboard 1. Cupboard 2 is down here. Now, from my initial sketch, A and B are at the back, so A and B, with C and D, so that will go like that. That's going like that. That's fine. So the first thing that springs immediately to mind are those middle mortises, because those are going to be for the shelf support for the middle shelf. Now, as I originally conceived the idea, where are we? The plan calls for a 10mm mortise. Because that's what I thought I'd cut these supports to be, and they are actually 9mm. That's fine, but there's no way that is 9mm. That is just far too narrow, and it isn't long enough either. So I can't remember whether I have a 9mm mortise bit or a 10mm mortise bit. I'm going to have to check. So that's one that I'm actually going to have to recut. Okay, so that's that, and this is why, for me, I know some of you will be chuckling at this, but it's not something that I had thought of. Never mind. So the top rails, slot to slot, that means that's going to go in there. So the tenon is long enough and wide enough, that's fine. But you can probably see here there's a gap, and I'm going to hazard a guess that all of them are going to be not deep enough, although that one, there is no gap on that one. Okay, so this is something that I'm going to have to correct. So that will go in like that. And there's a little bit of a shoulder there, but other than that, the frame looks okay. So let me try the other one. That one's gone in well. Oh, this is going better than I had hoped. This is looking good. Let me just double check what squareness is like. Those are looking very, very good. Well, I'm pleased with that. I was anticipating I was going to have to recut things. Apart from, now you'll see here, I've left a little bit of a shoulder when I cut the tenons, and just here there's a slight shoulder as well. To be honest, I'm not going to be too concerned about those. Those have worked nicely. So that can go to one side. This was the first panel that I put together, and you'll notice here the shoulder is a little bit bigger, but if I just turn this round, it's not too bad at all. And again, if I just check for square, it's a little bit out, but that will, now this you can see a little bigger gap just there. In fact, I can get the whole of the blade of the square into that shoulder. So but other than that, I can't see that's going to pose much of a problem. So the only thing I've got to do is recut these middle mortises. so that those fit. So lengthen them, widen them. Right, now I'm guessing then that's going to be the same with the second set of... Now here's where it gets interesting. I realised after I put those two top rails in this first cupboard, I suddenly remembered, no hang on, the top rail will need its rabbit piece in so that it will take the top shelf. So I swapped them over, that one, those two with those two, and then I've just realised I've done it wrong, because the rabbit needs to be on the inside. So that one's fine, but this one needs swapping over. And lesson here, always have a dry run so that you can iron out bits and pieces well before you get to glue up stage. So that one goes in. So rabbit on the inside, that's fine. So let's get on with number 2. So this is the only one so far that isn't going properly, but so that is being a little awkward, but this is the whole idea of the dry run, isn't it? And so that one needs adjusting, and those two need adjusting as well. Okay, so keep those to one side, and then let me have a look. So all of these are going to need easing. There's quite a big gap on all of them. So, okay, so those two frames need adjusting. good news, I do have a 10mm mortiser, so that's good. I can recut all of those mortise holes in the frames. Now these are the front rails for both cupboards, so oops, that one and that one, and this is the piece that will go in the middle. So I just want to double check these. That one works. That one works. Now, I know I've got the end tenons on both of these that will need testing in the frames, but I'm just going to take these a little at a time, because otherwise I'm going to lose where I am. So let me just try these. Now this one, for some reason I've miscut anyway, so I'm going to have to redo that one rather than try and force it. This one looks fine. That's fine. I can work with that one. And then yep, that one's okay as well. Right. Now I've already got the 6mm chisel in the mortiser, and all of these are 6mm. So what I'm going to do is just recut frame number 2 just to make sure that those fit. Recut that one, and then I can swap to that chisel and cut all of the middle slots. Okay, let me get the mortises set up. Now the advantage with, that's the original 6mm chisel. I haven't touched the mortises since I last cut anything for this project, so that is still where it should be. So all I need to do is recut that, and then I can move on to the frames. Right, so just clean the inside of that out. And retrieve the piece of the frame that I need. And test. And that fits in fine. Okay. Right. So I've checked that the fence is in the right place. I've adjusted the depth of the cut, so I'm adding about 2 or 3 millimeters to the depth of each cut. So here we go. Right, the chisel's in place, but what I want is the 10mm. I don't want the piece of wood to go any nearer that edge than that there. So adjust the fence like like that. Now the top is there, and I want the piece of wood I want the shelf to be on that edge there, so I'm cutting that direction. And thought that's just sprung to mind, what I've done is just put one of the test pieces in with the panel raise, and if I go like that, yes, it is going to miss the panel. That's fine, I just wanted to double check with that. So now, one thing I've noticed is, have I adjusted the squareness of the chisel correctly? No, it is slightly out. That's better. Right, now then. What I want is from the top, so it's there, and I'm coming down to there. And I'm coming down to there on those. To there. And to there. Okay, and then the depth. Now, the current depth is 19.5, so call it 20. I've already got the mark there, so let me get the depth mark here. That's the depth stop. Position the clamp just a little bit up so it moves a little more freely. Okay, right, here we go. slot, and it was always meant to be a loose tenon anyway, so that is fine. And let me just use the test that fits nicely, so good. Let me cut the other 3. That needs to go down a little bit further. There we go. Well, that's been a profitable afternoon. Doing a dry run on the joints, so things like that has highlighted where I needed to make adjustments. And just this piece that I'm holding at the moment, again, it's just highlighted to me the importance of knowing which piece you're putting where, because that's the rear long rail with its rabbit, that's the upright that will join top and bottom, but I've got this rail and it's the wrong one. This needs to go up here. This piece is actually the top rail at the front, so I'm glad I spotted it. But everything's working nicely. So what I'm going to be doing next time is carrying on, just checking that all of the mortise and tenons fit nicely. I don't have any more of the large mortises to cut. I might have to just go back over some of the smaller ones, but once I've checked all of the mortise and tenons that they fit nicely, I'll be at the point where I can just give everything a sand, and then I can start gluing up. And it seems, well, it is a long time since I started the project, but at least there is an end point in sight now. So thanks for coming along with me, and it's, as I said earlier, it's good to be back in the workshop. And since I went on holiday, we've had another 10 subscribers, and certainly want to say welcome to everybody, and look forward to hearing your comments and reading your comments as we go forward, and I'll see you next time.